watching this thing come together, seeing the excitement around the community on here. This is absolutely spectacular.
And this project doesn't exist without Arlington, if I'm being totally serious. The Arlington Tomorrow Foundation and the city allowing us to be on this land, and then with Neil Kirby as a hometown guy, naming this theater for him, it all is meant to be. I just want to thank you personally and to Arlington for letting us be here, because with our partnership, this is going to be an amazing destination for the Americans.
So thank you for joining us for another episode of Talk4Ten. Today we are here with Chris Cassidy. He is the president and CEO of the National Medal of Honor. So Chris, tell us a little bit about your background.
I loved being an astronaut. It was fantastic. We loved being in the Houston, Clear Lake area as a family. And, but I thought, okay, I've had 3 amazing missions. What does one more do? It's fun for me, but does it make me more marketable to outside the government employers? What does it do? And I realized, okay, if I want to do something else in the civilian world and experience something different, this would be the time to do it. So going into that mission in 2020, I knew I was going to retire from the government. And my good friend, who's on the board of directors here at the Medal of Honor Museum Foundation, because we're friends, he knew that when I came back from that mission in kind of the beginning of 2021, I would be moving on to something different. And I didn't know what that something different was, but he called me when I got back to Earth and said, hey, what are you going to do? I was a little intimidated, like, oh, geez, I don't know if I want to get signed up for that. But then coming here, I realized the spirit of this community, the can-do atmosphere that exists. People want to get this thing built, and that's obviously here in Arlington, but the whole Dallas Metroplex that is that way. And the power of the Cowboys and the Jones family and Charlotte being the leader of the board, it just made me realize, okay, this is a recipe for success.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be a part of that. And so they offered me a job. I said yes, and that was summer of 21.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this, it opens in March?
It opens in March, which is obviously 2025. And we broke ground 3 years ago, March of 22. And since then, we're proud to say that fundraising has allowed us to stay on schedule. Very fortunate that the whole global supply chain issue that was coming out of COVID, we were managed to navigate through that with minimal delay. At one point, the building was due to be opened November of 24, just a couple months ago, but we pushed it 1 quarter and we opened March of 25. And March 25th actually is Medal of Honor Day in the country every year. So it worked out better. It's a nice day to open.
Tell us more about the National Medal of Honor, why people should come out here and see, and what they should expect when they come out here.
Yeah, so one, it's a really cool building design, and those are renderings there on the wall. But the neat thing now is it looks like that in real life, just like 500 yards that way out the window. Yeah. And so the construction is largely complete. What's really cool about the symbology of it is that metal block looking thing at the top, the silver square, that is the exhibit deck, and it is supported by 5 gigantic columns, mega columns we call them. Each column represents a branch of service, military branch of service, which has a medal. There's now a 6th Space Force, and we have a light cannon that emits from the top of the building, and that's the symbol for the Space Force. But anyways, the burden of our country, the burden of keeping us all free and allowing us to have this podcast is supported by the members of the military that hold that thing up. And that's the symbology that's there, which I think is really, really cool.
Oh, yeah.
And but it's also just a neat looking building. It's got this open air rotunda underneath, and we've got an event hall and a theater, and of course cafe and retail space, and classrooms and leadership, where leadership programs happen both for young people and adults. And so all of that is housed there. There are 3,500 and a little over 3,500 awards of the medal ever since 1861. and 61 of them are living today. So they're phasing out commodity, if you will, sadly. We lost the last World War II gentleman 2 summers ago, Woody Williams. We lost the last Korean War gentleman last year in 2024. And now the only, all 61 are either Vietnam. I think there's 45 recipients from Vietnam that are living, and 16 from the global war on terror. So they're the younger generation. The Vietnam guys are 80 and north of 80. And so they're not getting younger. And so it's very sadly, in a few years, we probably won't have 45 of them around either. Yeah. So, we're really excited to get this thing open so as many of these guys can walk through the doors with us as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's a long answer for what you're going to see when you come in is those people's stories. We can't tell 3,500 stories in that space. Digitally, it's all available, but we're showcase about 100 stories in different capacities in the building, and we've got more artifacts for some than others, so though some displays are a little bit bigger than others, but it's a really cool design. It's a really neat space. For the community, it's also an event space. We've got lots of options here in the district, entertainment district, with hotel meeting spaces, stadium meeting spaces, and this is another option for people, especially with the convention center, and conventions come in here, and they certainly can have a meeting or one of their many meetings in the Lowe's Convention Center, but we're also available too.
And how great would that be? I mean, so will you be getting more in the future that you'll have to keep, increasing the space to add more members, or?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just a couple weeks ago, President Biden awarded 6 posthumous and 1 living medal. There's a couple more that are in the works that we're aware of. So, and how does that happen? It's not all just new actions that are now being recognized. Throughout history, people have been awarded different levels of medals. So for folks that are watching not familiar with military medals, the Medal of Honor is the highest award for valor. And now, in the Civil War, it was the only medal. You either got nothing or you got the Medal of Honor. Nowadays, there's a variety of different levels. There's service crosses like Navy Cross, Army Cross. There's Bronze Stars. There's other citations and awards down to more just sort of, I don't want to say routine medal, but not something that you have to be in combat for, but just doing a good job on a project. We recognize people in the military in different ways, and medals are one of them.
So, Chris, what kind of programs do you have as far as youth or anything in the community that people could get involved with?
Yeah. So our project as a whole is really 3 aspects. It's the museum, the physical museum that we've been talking about that will open very soon. It's organized into really 3 centers, one called the Center for Character Excellence, which is focused on youth, the Center for Leadership in Action, which is focused on adults, and the Center for Elevation of Honor. That's more like where we bring together like-minded organizations like the service academies and ROTC units around the country to explore concepts of honor, courage, sacrifice, commitment. That's what that center does. And then on a parallel path, we have created our own independent program called Moments That Matter, and and education is this huge animal. So we're focused right now, just taking one bite of the elephant, on 7th and 8th graders, and we feel like that's a good target range to start planting the seeds of being a good person and bringing out the character traits that are positive and are going to make you a better person in life.
Well, we are really lucky to have you, and thank you for our freedom. You've given your family and everything, has sacrificed so much, so we really appreciate that.